Welcome to the Nordic Mythology podcast. I'm Daniel Farrand, owner of the company Horns of Odin, and I'm joined by, you know what? It feels so weird.
Yeah.
I just rolled straight into my usual one, which I guess is a nice way to start off the show, I guess, with a little announcement too. So the voice you can hear is the wonderful Jonas Lorentzen, longtime guest of the show, fan favorite, I think, at this point. The creator of Nabala, executive chef extraordinaire. Anything else?
Not executive chef anymore, but I still do dabble. Of course.
Still dabbling a little chefery.
Yeah, here and there. It's good to be back, and strange to be here without Matthias, of course, but we yeah, it is. But we'll make it work. We'll have a good time either which way. For sure.
Yeah, of course. No, I think
always.
So for anybody who hasn't seen, because there will be a bunch of people who listen to this and they haven't seen on Facebook, follow us on Instagram or whatever. Matthias is taking a step back as co-host. Things have just got a little too confusing at the minute with him. I think he's got a lot going on, and it was a lot of it was scheduling time scales, because obviously a lot of our guests are European based. So I'm in the UK. We're just an hour difference. Matthias is 7 hours before me, so he's having to try and record in the middle of the day, and scheduling wise it just wasn't working. Obviously having the new baby put another pressure on that, and we were just cancelling episodes, and we just couldn't get into that rhythm that we had before. And I think he was getting frustrated himself having to miss episodes.
Yeah.
So he's going to take a step back. He's still going to come on as a kind of frequent guest when he can. But yeah, I'm excited. I said from the start that as long as people want me to keep doing this, then I'll just keep doing it. I have a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun conversations with people. It's funny because as soon as we kind of put the announcement out, people automatically go to, oh, they must have had some falling out. Like that was like one of the comments I saw. I was like, I wonder what's happened. It's like there's no.
They met God's blood finally, and they couldn't stand each other. That whole thing.
Yeah. Well, there's that, and it's like no, I love the guy. I've had more conversations with him than I have with any other person on the planet. Like in depth, real kind of one-on-one, locked-in conversations. And he's like, yeah, I love him to pieces, but it just doesn't work, and the door's always open when hopefully things settle down. There's a seat back here waiting for him. But I think we've worked too hard. I said to him as well, like, we've worked too hard to just kind of call it a day. We've built too much for that. I'd rather try and keep it going, and then he can come back when he's ready rather than just stop. So
this is the first one that you've done since the announcement, yeah?
Officially, yeah. So last week I did one with Benny Bratton. Who that was just me and him again. But unfortunately, that was again just complications of timing. Matthias had to kind of drop out just before. I think that was it's just an accumulation of a bunch of different things, and I think it is probably the right time for him to kind of take a little bit more time for him and his family and just get it all back.
Absolutely, man.
I mean, he's back next week. We're gonna do an episode and sit down and chat, and hopefully, I'm gonna try and set it up that he can teach me everything that he thinks that I need to know before he leaves. Like anything that he's like
in one episode.
Yeah, this is what
these are
really
the baselines.
But I mean, even before the announcement, we both decided that we wanted to take the podcast back in more of an educational route. Like I still love having, popular culture guests on, but I think we stepped a little too far that direction and kind of moved a little too far away from still getting those educational bases to it. So I think this is going to be a good thing for the listeners, particularly ones who like that, because it's going to force us to book kind of scholarly and expert guests that I can have one-on-one conversations with, and really I guess it's kind of almost taking it back to the old days with me and Matthias, where it's just one-on-one with an expert. We're going to be getting back to that, where it's just me and a different expert each week in their field, and just we're going to sit and have a good conversation.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. That makes sense for sure.
And
I mean, you had to
okay.
get around the whole pop culture thing, of course, and so on.
It's finding that balance.
It's relevant as well, right? Yeah, yeah.
It is finding that balance, but I think a lot of people do like that heavy. Well, not it's not too heavy, because I think that's what made us stand out in the first place, was that we had like the balance between the education and the humor and all having a lot of fun. But I think we just kind of missed out on it a little bit. And I'd like to bring back, especially I love learning. I love learning new things. I love having like my mind blown by something and being like, what? No way.
For sure. And there's no shortage of people out there that investigate all kinds of weird ass things and comparative stuff with Viking Age stuff and the Northern European history in general. I mean, so I get that. That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think in the episodes where we do have like a popular culture guest on, we've got enough we've made enough contacts, or we've had enough friends of the show like yourself, like Josh, like Runa, that we can lean on for those episodes and say, okay, well, this is the kind of the topic we're looking at. Would you fancy coming on and being a guest host for this? And then we'll go from there. With a little puppy trying to jump up on my knee.
Yeah, let him come. Who's this one?
This is Rocco, the little sweetheart. So yeah, Rocco's. Me and him have just been on a little adventure around Europe the last few weeks.
Oh,
that was fun. We went to Norway for Christmas, and then we went to Spain for New Year. So we've had a right adventure.
I don't have a dog, but I do have a huge fuck off fruit bat out in the tree.
Oh wow!
Before I went in, yeah. So I can try to grab it and
capture it.
And just sit here and cuddle a fruit bat while we talk. Wouldn't that be cool?
It would be. It would be cool. But no, let's jump into the episode. Obviously, we'll talk more about like me and Matthias in the future next week when it's me and him. So
for sure.
Yeah, let's talk. Let's start with Nabala. Obviously, you've had some live shows. Let's do that, and then we're going to look at what I'm really excited about is like sexuality in the Viking Age, and
we can still milk that cow. I'm sure, absolutely, even though we have done it for a few episodes, but there's always more.
There's low hanging fruit there with sexuality and milking cows and milking things, and there's all sorts of jokes we can do.
This is a great subject, isn't it? So
yeah, you set them up, and I'll just proverbially try and knock them down.
Fair enough.
All right, okay, Nabala. So obviously, have you been on since Castlefest?
Have I been on? What do you mean?
On the show, yeah, since
Midgard. No. We did something.
I was wondering whether you'd been on since you did the first show, Castlefest, and I can't remember.
No.
So this is the first time since any live show. Obviously, we did something at Midgard, which was
that hasn't been released yet, I think, right?
We haven't released it yet. I misplaced some files. I do have them. I just haven't got them to run to edit yet. But
it's all good, man. It's all good. So yeah, it is the first time that in that case. That was anyway just like a fucking slapdash interview right there we did at Make Us Good. It was fun though. It was fun.
It was a lot of fun, but there was a lot of people about. We had people jumping in and off.
Yeah.
I'm interested in these one-on-one conversations where we can get into the nitty-gritty.
The nitty-gritty of the whole thing. Yeah, no, I mean it was incredible to get Nabala out there finally in front of actually two very, I would say, for a band that has just released its first album, or for a project that's just released its first album, I would say pretty privileged that Castlefest and Mikkel's Blood wanted to, jump the gun and say, okay, fine, like let's get you on, because we haven't built up a massive fan base or anything like that yet. So that was felt incredibly privileged. So huge thanks to Castlefest and Mikkel's Blood for taking the chance on us. But it was incredible. Like Castlefest, of course, was the first one. So always first time jitters and everything that could go wrong went wrong, of course, technically and so on. I'm not going to bore the audience with that, but there was a lot. There was a lot.
I know you said that, but obviously I made the journey over and came and
you were incredible, man. Like you saved our merch booth. Like that was amazing. You just came driving all the way down to to fucking Amsterdam, and
we shared a bed.
We shared a bed. We did, yeah. Exactly. You had that little Marvel, what was it, like Avengers blanket with you or something?
I did.
I still have that. It's in my storage now. Yeah.
Yes, you do.
I've been carrying it around.
For anybody, I drove over with the merch. I think they were delayed.
There was an issue with delivery,
Being a good friend, I drove all the way from England to Amsterdam. And we didn't have a room, so we shared a bed for the night, and then just drove back in the morning.
Yeah,
because that's what you do. No, it was
incredible.
It was good. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the show. And you saying about technical difficulties, I didn't pick up on it. Obviously, I'm not musically gifted.
No, I mean there weren't. I mean, when we actually played, the only technical difficulty that was there is one that you wouldn't be able to hear. It's just that our in-ear sound was terrible. Again, like I'm not going to bore people with that. But it was just like it was the conditions with which we played, which felt really difficult. Like not being able to hear. There was something with the frequencies that had been messed up because of all kinds of shit that happened early in the day. But it's like, it's one of those things. I mean, these things also happened on Highland tours, and it's like it's very common that these things happen. And as you go along, you get better at figuring out how to create different systems and different measures, take different measures in order for to minimize the kind of field where things can go wrong, like to make that as slim as possible. As small as possible. But anyways, we had terrible sound. Couldn't hear a goddamn thing. So for some reason we made it. Anyway, like
it sounded good. It sounded good for everybody else, and you could tell by the reaction that you got.
It was incredible. Like it was really incredible. Like I feel people were really trancing out. Like especially towards the last couple of songs that had more of that tribal trance beat to them. People were completely losing it. It felt like I was at some kind of psychedelic festival or something like that. Like
did it feel
tripping out?
Did you feel a little bit like a cult leader?
No.
Did you get any? Because I'd be overrun with power. Because you have like, I don't know, you feel like you have like everybody at your fingertips, and that must be a surreal feeling.
It's a good point. I mean.
Sorry. Finish. For anybody who hasn't listened to the other shows, you used to be in Highlung, but it was were you one of the warriors? But it wasn't. It wasn't
what
like.
What are you talking about? One of the warriors? What the fuck?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Even Rocco's upset. Even Rocco's upset at that. Even Rocco's upset.
It sounds like I'm dissing on the Warriors now. Like I mean, they're obviously but
okay, but it wasn't in terms of like the main three front people.
No, no, of course not. No.
Oh, I thought I'd missed something. I thought I'd missed something major. That was the point I was trying to make. Was that obviously with Nabali, you are the front, kind of on your own. You look very different to the rest of the band as well. You're kind of all in white.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the funny thing is that it actually got more to me with Hylum, actually. Okay. Like the fame.
Really?
And all that. And that's because, at least that's my own theory, because on these tours, I was the band leader, right? So my responsibilities were sky high. Having to make everything work out, like dealing, and also because we're not a big enough band yet to have like a full-on tour manager and all that kind of stuff. So we all kind of share the load there. But like I have to deal with people's shuttles and all kinds of stuff. Like, so I'm also like like a fucking tour manager and, all that kind of stuff. So like, especially at Midgårdsblod, like at Castlefest, I had more help. Like Rob, our percussionist, was doing most of that actually. Or at least 50-50, I would say, if not more, probably more, to be fair. Because that was his turf, his hood, and he's been doing all this kind of stuff when he was in Omnia before. Have you heard about them? Omnia, that band?
No, I haven't.
I think a lot of the listeners might know them. They were really big. They were like they were like the first big pagan band like that. From the Netherlands. So he's done these kind of things before. So of course, but what I'm trying to say is that there was so much responsibility on my head that like I was just thinking about everyone else being okay and being ready, and then getting everyone to are you meeting at this time, and making the plans, and all that kind of stuff, the schedules and so on and so forth. So there's no time to really feel like a fucking huge rock star. And also like
but more so like in the moment.
In the
like
moment,
when like what's going through your mind? Because obviously I'm never going to be in a position where I'm on stage with a good I don't know exactly how many people were there, but
2,000 at Midgårdsblod.
Yeah,
2,000 at Midgårdsblod and almost 10,000 Castlefest.
Yeah, so I'm never going to be on stage in that moment. So like, how does that feel? Like, are you conscious of, or does everybody kind of blend into one wave of people?
Of course, there are moments, if I can be like to be completely honest and completely vulnerable about it. Of course, there are moments when you're standing on stage like that and you're the front man or whatever, and you're looking at everybody and they're singing. You can see some of the people at Midgårdsblod, like quite a few actually at the front couple of rows knew the lyrics already and stuff like that. Whoa, this is something I've created, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, me, or you're like, oh, and or if I did some kind of vocal line really powerfully and I could sort of feel that in the moment and it came out, I would get this there's this fucking amazing YouTube clip of Luciano Pavarotti, like one of the greatest opera singers that's ever walked this planet.
Are you comparing yourself to Pavarotti already?
No, I'm not, but no. Definitely not. I am way below his capabilities, but there's a moment where he's just sung Nessun Dorma, which is one of like the most famous, like da 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 da, that one that everyone knows. And when he ends and he's gone up and he's done that big crescendo, they zoom into his face and he does like this kind of, I'm fucking amazing. Like it's almost like he's like realizing it in that moment. It's like, fuck you all. Like I'm the fucking king here, So of course I had a couple of Pavarotti moments at where I was like, whoa, like this sounded incredible, or this felt incredible, or whatever. But it's not power. Like with Heilung, because I wasn't doing all those things and I was just alone for the ride. Of course, there were certain things I had to take care of, but it wasn't really that much. It was learning this music that wasn't so. That took like once that was in. So I was just along for the ride, and I could really bask in all that sort of like glory, and it kind of messed with my head. And I had to sort of like pull myself back and slap myself a couple of times, like, "What the fuck are you on about?" But of course, I mean, fame is a fickle friend, as they say, right?
It's easy done. Like I had like 3 people over the period of Midgårdsblod, like, oh, you Daniel from the podcast, and then I was walking around like I was 2 foot taller. I was like, oh, fucking hell, this is all right. And it was like 3 people. I was like, ooh, I'm walking a little bit more confident here. So it's easily done.
It is totally easily done. It's very, very easy to fall down that thing when you start thinking that you're some big shit, But the thing is, like, I know that if I start thinking that way, my art is going to become shit because I'll be doing it for the wrong reasons. Do you see what I mean? Like, and we were talking about the fame and all that.
Yeah. But we can shift off that.
No, but I think, but it's a good topic. It's a good topic because, like, I remember also talking to Kai from Highland a lot about this. You know, like how it's so important, especially when you're on tour, to really fucking be centered as you can. Have a strict routine. I remember on the last Highland tour I was on, I had a very strict routine because on the other tours I had got drunk, I got like stoned or whatever, and like, you know, tried to be a rock star or whatever in the, you know, here at the midsummer of
I bet you also life. Feel like you have to, like there's like that stereotype of rock star, and it's almost as if you have to live up to that because you're maybe not doing it correctly or enjoying the moment properly if you're not getting fucked up, because that's kind of what rock stars are meant to do. Yeah, totally. I mean, there's that stigma as well, of course. I remember there was some times like where we would meet some fans or whatever, and they would be like trying to give us alcohol and stuff, and we'd be like, no, thank you, and they'd be like, what? Like, I thought you were like cool Vikings or whatever. And like, I remember a couple of times getting those kind of stupid fucking comments. Like, but you know, it's all part of the game. It's all part of the game. But like, you know, really just being fucking strict with yourself when you're on tour, I think is a very good idea. And then you can have cheat days, you know, like, and you can have like, okay, I know here we have 2 days off after this gig, so I can just, I'm going to drink a bit. I'm going to have I'm going to let a little bit loose. But most of the gigs, I didn't like get drunk afterwards. I'd have a beer or two in here and there, you know, but nothing like that. And I would, whenever there was a gym at the hotel, I would get up in the morning and go to the gym, and, you know, those kind of things. It felt amazing. I absolutely loved it. So, yeah. I bet. And I think what really brought it home for me, this topic, was when me and Matthias spoke to Einar at Midgard's Blot, and anybody can watch that on YouTube. And he was kind of saying how he was so respectful of all these people had paid for this tour. So like, why am I going to go and get fucked up and then not be able to give 100% and give the performance that everybody deserves? And I thought that was like a really beautiful thing to hear, because, you know, there are a bunch of people like that.
Just because Einar just is a fucking weak drinker, you know. You can't have
You heard it here first.
No. I completely agree with Einar. Like, completely. Like, it's bullshit, man. It is pissing the people that just spend their hard-earned money to come and see you, and you're not putting on the best show you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
So whatever you need to do, I will never be this kind of band leader that tells my band that they can't smoke weed or they can't drink or they can't do this or that. I mean, I'm just like this. I mean, if you fuck up for any reason, you know, you're going to be out anyway. So like, if you're going to come stoned to a gig, we will be able to hear it. And afterwards,
you find you're letting people make their own decisions, because you could, you know, you could put those in place and be like, you can't do this. But then if they want to do that, they're going to sneakily do it. But you want to find the people who want to be professional, and they want
it's not a kindergarten, you know. Exactly.
Yeah, you're not there to look after people. No. So I don't know how much we spoke a little bit about kind of the effect. It kind of leads nicely into it, the whole, not the fame, but like the having all this, I guess, attention on you, and all this attention on the bar and doing the shows and all these highs, and then the after effects of that. I mean, you're looking fucking good right now. You're looking good. You look like you've lost some weight. You've cut your hair. You're looking, you're looking really sharp. When we had a little video call the other day, I was like, "Ooh, Jonas, look at you." So no, we had also a little talk about before that time period where you did have like that little come down from it. I don't know how much you want to talk about that.
Oh, there was a dip. There was definitely a dip. There was also like a burned out feeling and all that kind of stuff. You know, it was so much work getting. I had never done anything like tour planning or scheduling or any of this kind of shit before. So I was completely green. So it's like really from like starting from the ground and just straight in the rocket ship to two shows with 2,000 or more people in front. Like it's not like a gig down at the pub, you know? So it was really crazy. And afterwards I jumped straight into a consultation job. I had chef thing, consultation and so on. And it was just, it exhausted me. Like it exhausted my body. My motorcycle injury that I got many years back in India flared up like crazy. And I was just, for the month of October and November, it was just deteriorating constantly. And I was bedridden for several days. And then I had to go to India for various reasons we can get into. But what I decided was to take 1 month with Nana's cousin is a fantastic yoga instructor, incredible, like a proper yogi, but like a modern one. Not like, you know, Guruji, like not like that, but like, you know, like, but an amazing yoga instructor. And we just took a month and just fixed my back really. And I just had like a month where I just didn't do anything. I lived up the mountains, lived very cheaply. We did something incredible, which was at Christmas, because they don't celebrate Christmas up in the mountains. They do celebrate it a little bit in the city somewhere. It's like where there's a bigger amount of Christians, and you can go to the Christian area of the city, and you can.
Man, this actually sounds like this sounds like it could be a superhero origin story. Like you're gonna come back as Doctor Strange. So yeah, I'm sure that's what he did. He went to the mountains and fucking came back.
It's not far off, I have to say. It was really incredible. I was hiking every day. I was going to the sacred places there. It's a very Buddhist place because it's where the Dalai Lama has his exile government. It's a place called Dharamshala up in a place called Himachal Pradesh. And so I was up there, and for Christmas, what we did, because there was a village around this place where he had his yoga place and so on. And they were like the sweetest people ever. They had invited us over for weddings and stuff, and that fed us a lot. So for Christmas, I thought I'd give them one back. So we bought a whole goat, a live goat.
Oh, okay.
And I was going to sacrifice it myself and then feed the 20, 25 odd people in that little area of the mountains. So they brought the goat, and it's like, in some places in the mountains, they hold the goat and then they slit the throat, like they do in Muslim cultures as well. Yeah, where it can't see the knife and so on. It's very similar actually, but in this way, it's the Punjabi style. So what they do is still very, very beautiful the way they do it, because they take it out to graze with some of its other goat friends, and then you are supposed to come and meet at a specific place.
I feel like that's a warning to his friends.
How?
Like if its friends are there and they're going.
No. So
did it move his friends first?
So then what happens is that they tie up the goat and it's just grazing, and then they take the friends away while it's not looking, kind of. So they go somewhere else, and then the guy who has the sword is like a big, like you hold it like that, and it's got almost like a Dothraki type.
Okay, yeah, it's almost like a half moon.
Yeah, so it's kind of like it's like a half spear, half sword sort of mixed thing, but with like a half moon at the end. And then I said I wanted to do it, and the beginning they were a bit skeptical. They're like, "We don't know if you can chop the head off a goat, like, because that's how they do it. Yeah. That's how they do it. So they bring it out, and then they put it down, and then all it is like a little bit irritated by being held, but it doesn't know that. Yeah,
it doesn't understand.
No. So I was standing then behind it, and then I don't know, man. Like I just felt confident that I could do this thing, and it wouldn't suffer, and it was a perfect execution. Like head off, clean,
head straight off. Wow,
clean off. Yeah, and then they had a bowl that they caught all the blood in. which was also made into a curry. Something, the blood was made to like a blood curry.
So is that the first time you've done anything?
I've never ever done anything like that before. Like that was insane. But I felt like I had to do it. Like
that has to be life changing.
Dude, it was it was very shocking also, you know, to see it afterwards, and the head over here and the blood coming out here.
But it gives you that. But the thing is, it gives you that respect for life as well, and the respect for the meat that you're eating. You know, we said it a bunch of times, and we're not going to go down that rabbit hole again. But the meat you get in the supermarket is in like a nice little cellophane pack, and it doesn't resemble the animal you're eating. And people have such a disconnect.
Oh, it felt so great. I mean, to be honest, it felt really great. Like, and then skinning it, and then they took all the guys who we bought it from. They took all the intestines and different things that I didn't want. They used that. They would cook it. So every single part of the meat got used, and the skin we salted it, and we gave it to the village, and they could use it for rugs to sit on or whatever. And then I took it into the kitchen and then brined it for one day, and then marinated for another day, and then we built a fire, and then we cooked it all straight on the fire for Christmas. Had a lot of alcohol, invited the whole village. I made some extra dishes for it. And then people just sat and partook in the goat. You know, it's incredible. Oh, wow. It's fucking incredible. Yeah, it felt really good. Felt really, really good.
It sounds like a really good experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially you kind of initiating it and wanting to put this on. And I'm sure that's appreciated massively.
Oh yes, absolutely. Like they are like family now. Those guys, like, you can always come back there. You can always stay there.
Yeah.
So
it's very bonding. But it's probably, you know, I was going to say you probably don't get used to it, but maybe people that work in like slaughterhouses that it's on a conveyor belt, but that's not how it should be done anyway. Like even the people, you know, who respectfully, like in the way that you kind of described, even if they do it 100 times, I bet every time is memorable and respectful, and you have a connection to the animal. It's not just some conveyor belt of just meat, which is not the way it should be done.
Absolutely not the way it should be done. And like, really, if people tried doing that, like cutting off a head of a goat like that, I think they would just, I think most people probably, if they have a conscience, would eat a little less meat, or they at least wouldn't be so
quick to go to McDonald's,
or like gung ho. Exactly, gung ho on just like having to eat meat all the time. You know, because I'm definitely not an anti-meat person in any way, shape, or form. But I do think that
it's one of those things that you
don't
get
eat 3 times a day. You know, like it's crazy.
It's one of these things where you get these two camps of you. It's like you can't be in the middle, and it's the same with so many other things. It's fucking, you have to be like this all-out meat eater, or you have to be like the hardcore vegan. And if you're in the middle, it's like you're just a fucking fence sitter or something. It's so odd that you have to pick. Yeah. But it's this odd culture that you have to have meat for, like you said, 3 times a day, every meal. And some people, if there is a meat in the meal, they're genuinely offended. They're like, well, where's the meat?
Yeah,
I can't eat this. It's like, you're a fucking adult. What are you on about?
Because how can you have your pudding if you don't eat your meat? But I don't know, like
Pink Floyd.
Yeah, that's the one.
I got one.
Good you caught that reference. No, I mean, yeah, it's just crazy that we eat the way we do, but hopefully it's changing. But yeah, I mean, I could recommend anyone who eats meat to try any animal, just to try kill any animal, really, if they haven't done it already.
Yeah, definitely probably recenters you and makes you appreciate the animal a lot more.
Yeah. But I mean, other than that, I'm also here in India for seeking inspiration for the next Nepal album.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like not necessarily, not like I'm not going for any like specific. I have a whole idea of what it's gonna be already, so it's not like I'm going to seek things out technically.
I would say, just quickly put a pin in that.
Sure. Yeah.
Before we jump off the subject, I did want to just say that obviously, and I don't want to go too heavy into this because me and Benny covered kind of mental health a lot. Last week we had a big episode on that. But not everybody can go to India and hang out with a yogi and do that. And like the last 3 weeks, me and Rocco traveled around, like I said before, we traveled around Europe, and we were lucky enough to, I think we did 5,000 miles in 16 days and hung out with a bunch of people and family. And it was this amazing experience that really kind of centered me, because before Christmas, like I had a very big realization of that I was I was certain that like I am depressed from everything that's happened over the year. There's this single moment of realization of like, fuck, I am depressed from this, and it is kind of something I'm going to have to battle and do things with and take active steps to try and improve it. And not everyone, and I think as we spoke before, you were similar after everything that happened on your end, and not everyone can do. Not everybody can do what we did and kind of have this 3 weeks or month where you can pull away from work and really focus on yourself. But you can do, I think most people can do something and just take the time to appreciate yourself. And whether it's a weekend or even just a day off work where you can just spend time on yourself and focus on yourself and kind of recalibrate everything and put things back into perspective of what's really important.
Yeah, I mean, it can also be, we also need to be careful with saying that not everyone can do this, because that may also just be like a mind-forged manacle that you can't take off work, or you can't do this, or you can't, like, I would say in the West, generally, of course, there are people that have very limited means, and that is like due to cycles of abuse and neglect and all these different things from like sometimes generations of families as well. Like, so the kind of trauma that some people are dealing with, of course, is extremely intense. And it's not that I want to neglect that in any way, shape, or form, but I think most people can do something, even if it's like saying, fuck it, for a month, I'm going to figure out how I can get a cheap hut up in Norway, and I'm just gonna fucking stock up on food and melt ice for water and like do a little bit of research and figure it out. It takes maybe a little bit more work for some people. Like I'm lucky that I have tons of connections in India, and India already being a cheap place, so I'm actually not really spending anything at all traveling around. So I'm lucky I can do that. But I think if people really need to do it, they need to believe in themselves that they can find a way. Because I think everyone can deal with a fucking break from modernity and craziness and.
Yeah, I think I was more just meaning that not everybody can do it to that extreme. That you have to find their own way.
Yeah, absolutely. But what's more important than your mental health? Or your health in general.
It isn't, and that's the big thing that I realized was like I didn't understand depression until it hit me. Like I was of a very ignorant mindset of like you can just not just get over it, but you can do things, or like you can, when it grips hold of you and you don't want to. So for me, it was like, I was like, I'm gonna have a good day today. Today's gonna be really good. And then by the end of the day, I was just like really fucking sad and like, I was like, how the fuck did I end up here? How did I go from I'm gonna have a really good day to being sad again? And like that just kept happening repeatedly. And I was like, how is this happening? And I just didn't understand it. And, people used to tell me that in the past, and I just couldn't understand it. I couldn't get my head around it. It's like, we'll just have a good day. But until it happens to you, you're like, oh shit, like, fuck, there is nothing you can do about it. And it's been a big eye-opening experience for me in that sense as well, of like what it really is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the tricky thing about depression, right? Like it's also, it comes like a thief in the night, right? You don't know it till it's there, sort of like, or like you can be blinded by it. Like I'm very prone to depression. I've gone through several months of depression, especially when I was younger. I learned to deal with it as I grew older, so that the times when I did get depressed, that I kind of like could keep them a bit smaller than several months at a time, like when I was younger. The problem is that you become addicted to that state of mind as well. That's one of the reasons why it's difficult to get out of it. You become addicted to your own depression. Actually, it's like the devil, you know. It's
you do. It's fascinating, and it's funny you say that. That's one thing I've noticed as well, is that obviously I've been going through a grief process, and you get attention. You get that attention from people of, are you doing okay? And you get a lot of people messaging you. You get a lot of this, and it does almost become addictive. This attention from people, this kind of checking in on you, and it's a very, it's a very slippery slope you can go down if you're not conscious of it, of like, then playing up to it and then putting yourself in these bad positions, because it's like, well, then I'm going to get the attention again from people. Because obviously over time it starts to dissipate and everyone goes on with their lives. And it's like, oh, but if I'm really sad, then I'm going to get the attention again. And you can easily fall into that cycle.
Yeah. I'm gonna like make my mom have a terrible accident or something, so that people can give me more attention again. People do. You're like, where is that? I'm going to do something terrible to myself or whatever, just to get more of that attention. It
is unfortunately a thing.
It's horrible. Like depression is fucking horrible, and it's difficult for people who don't suffer from it to understand how difficult it is to get out of it. Actually, but that being said, like you are the only one that's going to get you out of that shit, And that's also why I had to take this radical step. Like, I'm going to take a month off, even though I had no fucking like leverage to really do that. Actually, this time, like there was so many things pressing on me and so on, but I just said I'm not going to fucking deal with any of it because I can't. Like it's breaking me down. Like I'm literally falling apart physically. So a bit of 1 month of yoga and some goat head chopping, and back.
I mean, not everyone. I'm not going to advise that everybody goes and does that.
Everyone should kill a goat. It's the best remedy for depression, I tell you.
Okay, let's talk about what's next for Nabala, because I do want to get to sexuality and polygamy, monogamy, everything, all that stuff. And we've already been going like an 45, 50 minutes.
Really, Jesus. So I missed you, Dan. It's good.
I know. You start. I'm gonna just get up and get my charger from my laptop, but I'm listening. I'm still listening. So you just hold the fort down for a few seconds while you tell us about Nabala's next steps.
I shall indeed. Well, I mean, and you were talking about sexuality. That might be one of the. And it's not going to be the last time we talk about sexuality related to Nabala for sure, because that first album will always be there, which was dedicated to that subject. But the next album, obviously, I'm not going to make a second album about sexuality. That would just be weird. It's like this guy needs to get some pussy. Like, what's wrong with him? No, I mean, like, the next album I'm not going to say too much about it, but we are working on starting recordings this year. It's probably going to be, it might be in the second half of the year. We'll start earlier than that, but we won't have it finished until then. But it's going to be more broad. Like I'm going to try to grapple with the concept of rites of passage, basically. So that's, and I won't say much more about that, but we are going to like work with also still sort of, there's still going to be the Nordic thing for sure. That's never going to leave, but we're definitely be even more exploring other cultures.
But even the first album had a very clear influence from your attachment and spending so much time in India. You could really hear that coming through. I loved it. I thought it was brilliant.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, no, like definitely, like for sure. There's a lot of Middle Eastern and Indian influences. But I'm going to also conceptually work more with other languages as well, not just using Proto-Germanic, but also use other ancient languages and so on. And so I'm still developing the concept, but that's one thing, of course. And then I can say also happily that we will be releasing live videos from Nigasblod.
Okay.
So we got the whole thing recorded with several cameras and professional the audio from the mixing desk, so we could sit and mix it afterwards and make it sound crisp and awesome. So there's going to be some live videos coming out. So we're going to release them slowly, one by one. And we're working on festivals. There are a few festivals that are already confirmed. The one I can say for sure is Festival Medieval in Germany.
Okay.
Which is quite you were there at Castle.
Do you need some merch? Do you need some merch?
I will need merch. You want to come? You want to come?
Do you need some merch?
Boy?
I know a merch courier.
Exactly. The best one.
Number one merch courier.
Sure. Number one. For sure. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, no, it's very like Castle Fest, actually, this festival. It's a wonderful festival. I played there with Highland as well. So they were playing in the beginning of September. That one's for sure. But of course, we're working on more and more shows. Just can't say anything yet because, I can't say anything before the ink has really dropped, or I might look like an idiot later on. But like it's I'm really fucking excited to get the next project on the road, the next album. Also because I will be exploring even deeper into the Indian stuff, but also stuff from Southern Europe and so on, and gonna be interested to see if I can learn the old languages from these parts as well, and try to pronounce them properly and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of really fucking amazing stuff waiting for Nirvana, and I'm really, really happy, especially after today. I just had some good news in the morning, so yeah, it's shaping up to be something for sure. I'm really excited about it.
Good. I'm excited to hear it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the follow up. I loved the first album, and it got a lot of good praise. It's something you should be very proud of. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I mean, that has to add some extra pressure.
What's that? Sorry?
It has to add some extra pressure. The first one being received very well.
Yes.
To then make a second one.
Like that. Yes. Because at least critically, we did get quite a lot of amazing words along the way, which was
because the first one sucked.
Incredible.
Then, if the first one sucked, then the second one could
only get better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but on the other hand, like it's just, I like the challenge. I like the challenge.
Yeah.
I like the challenge a lot. Like, and there's so much more to explore. There's always going to be stuff to explore when you're working in this way, like with history and with mythology and spiritual ideas and so on. It's like a vast sea of stuff that you can dive into. So is whether it sonically is going to play out in a way that's going to please people, that you can never know until the thing is out. Like you can never. It's like when you release an album, it's like giving birth to a child in a way, right? Because you you obviously you do what you can to mold that child into being something, but at the end of the day, that child's going to meet the world. And shit's gonna happen. You can never know how that's gonna go down. So I really try to. A good friend of mine who's an actor. He was his name is Ture Rasmussen, and he was one of the villains in the Fast and Furious 9. He was one of the main villains. Like it was his first.
There's 9 of them.
Yeah, there's fucking more coming out now, I think.
Oh, is there?
It's a franchise, right? They're huge, whatever. But he thought, okay, now I've played with Vin Diesel. I've had scenes with fucking Vin Diesel. We're talking, and I've been like trying to mess about with him and fucking who else? Like who's in these movies? Like John Cena was in that movie as well, I think. Do you know who that is?
Yeah,
Wrestler?
You can't see me. I know who John Cena is.
Of course, man. Of course. Anyways, so the point is, like, he thought that, now, like, I'm just gonna be chimed. Like everyone's gonna, like, I'll have to get several phones to be able to, pick up all the amazing offers I'm gonna get now. But that didn't happen. Like, for a whole year, I didn't get anything in. So what he was saying, like, so whatever happens on your way in this crazy show business thing, you just have to fucking enjoy every step of it, because you never know when it's gonna be over, And Nibbala is starting out now, very slow. We're building it up very slowly. I really enjoy that. So I'm just gonna enjoy every step of the way and do the things that I like to do, do it the way I want to do it.
Yeah, you're doing it the right way of just doing it slowly and getting there and getting an organic following. Because it's so easy nowadays to get if you can go viral, you get this meteoric rise to success. But if you haven't got the substance there to back it up, it's only, it's up and then straight back down. You have to, if you want that longevity, you have to do the hard work, do the groundwork, and kind of grow it, and then you're going to have that base following, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fucking exciting, and of course, like when you hear, for instance, Einar, the way he started Vardruna, like I think it took him 7 years or so, or something like that, before Vardruna really started being someone to be reckoned with, and playing the big shows, and Einar starting to line his pockets a bit as well, that kind of stuff. Like I think until then it was just like investment, So
that's the problem. People always forget, or when they're on the outside looking in, they just don't appreciate the amount of work that it takes to get there, because there'll be people who found Vardruna like a year ago, 2 years ago, when they're already this powerhouse. And then they have this mindset of like, oh, they must have just always been big.
Yeah.
And they don't see the 7 years of like doing small shows and growing and getting bigger and having to do the grind to get there.
Yeah. Exactly. And we can't fucking, we can't all be I think it's fine. I think it's great. It allows you to also do this in a humble way, slow and humble, and like, because you've been down there, now you're up there, so I think it's good to have that knowledge. I think a lot of those people that shoot to fame from 0 to 100, that sort of thing, I think it gets really difficult, talking about what we talked about earlier as well, with the fame and all this kind of stuff. I think, damn, like, how are you gonna, like, you fucking getting all high and mighty from three people recognizing you at niggas.
I mean, it might be 4. I don't want to do myself a disservice. Might be 4.
Oh, maybe it was 10 even. You guys were.
Next year it might be 20.
Yeah, dude. Like, or maybe even more. But the point is just that I think having done the grind, I think is it was one of the reasons why I left High Long as well. Like, because I felt like I had to earn my own keep here, in some ways.
But I think that's
just be along for the ride,
That's the same with anything in any walk of life. Some people are happy just working for somebody or being, doing a job underneath somebody and kind of being in that position. Some people are happy to do that their entire lives. Just like, and it's no different to like when it's in a band, just because in the public eye, you're still the same kind of roles. You're still kind of in this position of somebody else's thing. And then you'll always have people who aspire to like, they'll just go set up their own plumbing business. They'll be an apprentice for 10 years and be like, oh, I want to do this for myself. I'm going to go set my own up. And that's the similar thing to what you did. You just want bigger. And there's nothing wrong with that, for having aspirations and wanting your own success.
And there's also nothing wrong with feeling totally okay with just playing with the band, right? I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's a lot of bread and butter musicians out there, and fuck, man, all power to them, Yeah,
there's nothing wrong either way. It's just different strokes for different folks.
Oh yeah, different strokes for different folks.
That's it.
Indeed, brother. Indeed. I'm in Sri Lanka right now, which is all the way down to the south. And I'm thinking of learning how to surf. Did you ever try that?
I haven't. No, not yet. Not yet.
That's what everyone does here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I should have kept my haircut though, and then have braids, like Viking braids, and then going out on the surfboard, like a surfing Viking. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. It would have been. All right.
Viking surfer.
Let's get into sexuality, and
cool.
I'm going to try and let's not get me cancelled.
You had no. Let's get full cancelled, man. Like I'm telling you, I think this cancelled thing is gonna turn into like a term of endearment, or not a term of endearment, but like it's gonna be like this kind of thing that cool kids from 10 years from now, or even 5 years from now, they'll be like, dude, did you go to that concert yesterday? And then the other guy's like, dude, this concert was so sick, man. It's fucking canceled, bro. Like that's gonna be like how cool it was. It's fucking canceled.
I mean, to be fair, the chat said that the episodes that I do on my own have been very clean so far. So it's been Matthias that was the bad influence all these years.
Oh yeah. I know. I mean, I'm not afraid of being controversial whatsoever. So let's see what this goes. You had something. I remember you said something in the notes before we started. There was something you wanted to talk about, like.
Oh, we'll get there. We'll get to that.
Okay.
I know what you mean. So I want to. I want to talk about sexuality in the Viking Age, specifically in relation to the Vikings, like the traditional, authentic meaning of Viking. The people who go on a ship and go and raid abroad or wherever, like those people. I want to talk. I mean, we could talk about like sexuality in the Viking Age as a whole, but like that's what I'm kind of fascinated with, and.
Yeah, I mean, because it's gotta have, being on a boat with all dudes, right? For weeks. Yeah.
Well, I think I said on the podcast once when it was, and I got some hate for this from some probably some like Viking bro type people. I think it was Amy Franks when we did the Vikings are gay.
The Vikings are gay episode.
And I was like, look, I know guys, I'm a guy, like I know men, and if you put men on, 100 men on a boat for 3 weeks, someone's sucking dick. I don't give a fuck. And I said that. I was like, and I still stand by that. I'm like,
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Like, there's a reason that like gay for the stay is a saying when it comes to like people who go to prison. It's a reason. That's a saying for a reason. Because
that's the same for a reason, for sure.
It's what happens. Because when you put a bunch of men in a situation, like someone's sucking dick, it just is what's happening.
Dude, I totally and absolutely agree with you. And I also think that everybody, whether they admit it or not, are on some kind of spectrum. You know, I mean, I in some sense, I sometimes feel that even us having the denominations gay and straight can be. I mean, I understand why the categories are there, and we do need to have categories, I suppose, to be able to talk about things. But in some sense, it's silly because whatever you're attracted to, whoever you fall in love with, you know, like they say, like the gay, lesbian, whatever, LGBT, whatever crowd says, love is love, right? Love is love. I mean, it's not, your sexuality doesn't really change whether you're, you know, doing the act of love, basically. And I think, like, I remember when I was I have a very clear memory of one time when I was younger. I was playing with a friend, someone who's still a friend of mine today. We must have been 4, something like that. So we were in, you know, kindergarten at that time. And I remember us playing Tarzan, and I can't remember the name of Tarzan's sidekick, but in some of the magazines he had a sidekick. So Tarzan and this dude. So we were playing these 2 dudes, and we were wrestling a lot, right? And I just remember it distinctly, having sort of this feeling like I wanted him to dominate me, but then I also wanted to dominate him. And when I think back on that experience, it was extremely homoerotic. I mean, we didn't touch each other's willies or stick fingers up each other's bum or anything like that. We don't do that, but just the act of it, the ebb and flow of who's in charge here. I liked that whole submission. I remember liking that when he sort of grabbed me and took me down. Fucking, you know, like, for sure, like some homoerotic thing. Huh?
But I was saying there's something to it, and that's fascinating, because when we talk just about the Viking Age, I remember it being like they obviously didn't have the same boundaries on like gay and straight as we do, and the negative,
for sure.
It certainly seemed that the negative side of homosexuality was being the bottom, was being the taker, the receiver, like. Yes. That was like the negative. So it wasn't the fact of it being 2 men. It was being the submissive one, I guess. Like you could be the dominant in a.
Again, I wonder about this one. Actually, this one is very interesting, Dan. I wonder about this one, whether we are looking at it from our point of view in some ways again, because I know that there are scriptural references to, you know, being the taker, being sort of like looked down upon. But I wonder how looked down upon it was. I think that would probably also have been different from fucking town to town. You know, we have to remember this was not a uniform culture like that. So that would probably have been different from town to town. Who knows? But my point was more like, if you wanted to be seen as a cool, big, strong warrior, then you couldn't be caught getting fucked in the ass, right?
Yeah, I think I was more referring to, like, in particular, again, to the Vikings, of like when they went to monasteries and things. It was reported of them being the buggers rather than the buggered. Is that the right phrase? Is that the right phrase?
Yeah. The buggers rather than the buggered. Yeah,
that's the name of the episode.
Yeah.
I don't know if I dare do that.
Love it. No, do it, please. It's great. The buggers rather than the buggered. Yes, that's probably true. I mean, for sure. But I mean, it's just like, it's so fascinating. I mean, also when researching for Nibbala and so on, and really looking at sexuality, like, of course, we were not necessarily going into, we didn't like look at did Vikings fuck each other in the ass on the Viking ship? I don't know how I'd make a song about that. Maybe someone could, but it just wasn't like something I could make a song about. But we did look at like sexuality as it was represented in mythology and so on and so forth. It seems to be like because fertility was such a big part, sexuality is such a big part of the mythology, because it really is. I mean, Odin's is like fucking willy-nilly all over the place, right? It's always like, and in the story of the meat of poetry, how he has to go and sleep with the giantess to get the meat of poetry and fly up like an eagle and be powerful and all that. Like that power that is in sexuality, right? That creative force that there is in there. It's been venerated for thousands and thousands of years, right? Mm-hmm. So it's always funny to sort of try to put yourself in the headspace of someone who's living in that kind of culture, where sexuality, maybe not in the same way as a commodity. I don't know. I mean, I see it also like here in, like I learned some things when I was up in Himachal, for instance, because some of my friends up there are gay, for instance, right? And one of my friends, he would meet with a local boy, right, who definitely cannot tell anyone that he's gay, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like he can't tell anyone. Like in that sort of like, he's a local mountain village boy,
Mm-hmm.
Great dude, very sweet, but he can't tell anyone that he's gay. So he does this thing in secret, right? And
that has to be so awful.
But what my friend told me was
that.
What my friend told me was that in the bedroom he's a fucking maniac,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm wondering what these Vikings were up to as well. If it was like, sexuality was also something with honor and so on. If you and I, let's say, if I fucked Alyssa, right? You and I wouldn't be friends, right? It would be good, but you wouldn't kill me, Maybe not. Probably wouldn't axe me. Maybe you would. I don't know.
Might cut your head off like that goat.
Yeah, you should. You should. If I ever fucking did anything to dishonor you in that way. But I'm just saying, like, this would be seen as a gigantic dishonor, and we would have to have words, right? We would have to have words, meaning we would have to fight it out and kill each other, right? There's so much like tied up in this thing, but how were they when they came into their cave or whatever, and all the lights were off and they were just them together? Then what happened? Or what did they have orgies as well? Like they have, because there's a lot of things that point towards that as well. Like it's super interesting. But the whole thing on the boat there, I don't know, man. Like that would just be that like you said, like gay for the stay, right? But it's like we have to rub it out, right? So when we were kind of talking earlier, I put the idea out there of like with sailors, because there's this thing with sailors, like people in the Navy or whatever, like there is this stereotype of like there's that gay kind of stereotype that comes with it. But equally, the truth is that every time they went to a port, they were doing whatever they wanted, whether they had a wife or not, leaving a bunch of children behind, and kind of, fucking about. So yeah.
It's like this weird thing that I think we could probably take parallels from, because it's the closest thing that I can think of that might be similar. A bunch of men as a war band on a ship for a while. Because I assume that stereotype probably must come from somewhere. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
No, I think, yeah, of course. But what are you relating it to? Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Second.
What was that? Sorry.
Well, what are you relating? I mean, we can relate to that, like.
So that idea, yeah. So that I was trying to say there might be some comparison between like the sailors the modern day sailors and this stereotype that is there, and the fact that they certainly were promiscuous when ashore and at ports, but we kind of know that with Vikings as well, that they were promiscuous when they went to villages, whether it was raping and pillaging or consensual. They was certainly there, and so I was wondering if we can have that comparison between like the two. I can't think of anything that's closer in modern day terms than that as an example
of like modern day sailors going ashore and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I don't know, like I mean, it makes sense to me that would be like the case. Yeah, it makes sense to me. Of course, the Viking bros are gonna get angry about that. But I mean, like, I think promiscuity would obviously also be a thing. I think there is actually, from what I remember, there is a Englishman writing in the time of the Vikings about how the Vikings would come and steal all the English women because they were so groomed and fair and fine looking and all that kind of stuff. Like, and how would they then deal with that coming home to their wives when they finally came home to the wives?
It's not like today where they could just find them on Facebook and be like, by the way, Sigurd I've got Sigurd's son back at home whilst he was in England doing his business. You can't. They would never. I'm sure they would never. There'd never be any fallout from it. It would be a case of when in England they could do it. They could have a whole separate family in England, and then when they come back on a raid, it's there.
Yeah, and would they? The women back at the farm, they were okay with it. Were they fucking around as well?
With that, yeah. Well, that's the point. The women probably were back at home doing the same thing. I mean, mate, the real winners of the Viking Age are the men who stayed behind. They're the fucking winners because you got all these men who are going, and I'd be like, oh, I can't go. I've got a bad foot. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry, I can't go. I've got
a terrible cough.
I can't. I'm sorry, fellas. I would love to come and be on that boat with you. But I have to stay behind. And then there's just a town full of women.
Yeah. Unattended women. Exactly. Yeah. But it's fun to think about also, like with the promiscuity, also like when you look at like modern day rock stars as well, like it's especially from the 70s and 80s, and like if you want to, speaking of Vikings and so, if you want to read a really fantastic a book written by a tour manager, you need to read Hammer of the Gods, which is about Led Zeppelin.
Okay.
After they released the album that Hammer of the Gods is on.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one that is, but no, what's it called? The Immigrant Song, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that tour, like the way that he describes what these guys got up to, man, like on this tour as well. And it was also the same thing, right? On the tour, everything was allowed. Many of them had girlfriends back home or whatever, but they must have known as well. Like fucking Robert Plant is not gonna be celibate when he's like out there half swinging his dick around. Yeah, when he's on stage, he's not gonna do that afterwards. Of course he is, And these Vikings, of course they took advantage of that when they were out,
And I think we look. Again, we look at everything through our lens of like modern day, but also equally like our culture as well. Like we look at it through the culture that we have now, particularly with like sexuality and monogamy. Like that's kind of probably what came with Christianity and is the culture that we have. So we look at it through that lens, whereas the whole, like, well, you've been, like, I guess you've been in India now. Like, that's a whole different culture that looks at sex very differently.
Oh yeah.
And it probably was closer to that than what we are.
Sure.
So you have to kind of look at it through a different lens, and you get we are going to have the Viking bros who are like, no, they're all just perfect. This is the other thing as well. It's like, this is the other thing. It's like, they're all these shirtless, always shirtless, like, you know the images, the shirtless, ripped, long hair, like groom beards,
blue eyes.
like six pack, like looking fucking wham. And it's like, come on, man, that's fucking homoerotic. Like, you've drawn like the most perfect man. Like, you're idolizing this guy of like these warriors. It's like, come on, how do you not see what's going on?
How do you not see you're fucking gay, dude?
Yeah, it's like, how do you not see this? And then, but then they're all super. Every one of them, 100% straight. Every one of them. It's like, fuck off. How do you not?
Fuck off. Yeah, of course they weren't, man. Of course they weren't. I mean, this is the thing, right? Like, with this whole gayness and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I really wonder why it's such a topic. You know, it's why. But I suppose it is society with stigmas and so on. But then, why are those stigmas there? Why is it such a problem? You know, there's always going to be. What is it? How many percent of the population is going to be gay at any given moment? It's like 7%, 6%, something like that. Maybe even less. There's always going to be that, you know.
Yeah.
And then there's everyone else.
It's always been there.
Yeah, and it's always been there. Absolutely. There's actually in the Kama Sutra. Speaking about India, in the Kama Sutra there's a position where it says also in the scripture description of the position that this position is extremely good to do with two guys and one woman or something like that. And it's described that the guys have to also, fuck each other, right?
Yeah.
And it really works really well if the guys do like this too, like in the Kama Sutra. The Kama Sutra is like thousands of years old, right? Like, so of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I find it so strange. First of all, I find it so strange that people care. Yeah. I find it bizarre that anybody cares what the fuck anybody else does. As long as it's not illegal, like, I don't understand why anybody cares that much that they want to put on social media or they want to talk or be offended that there's two guys together, two women together or whatever. Like, that's the first thing. I just don't understand why anyone gives a fuck. People just do what they want to do. If they're happy, who cares? It's just not.
As long as they're not just like doing it like right in front of my door when I come out in the morning, you know, like there's two gay guys or
that would be
or whatever.
But that would be the same if it was a heterosexual couple.
Oh yeah.
I'd be like, if there was a guy and a girl fucking on my doorstep, I'd be like, get the fuck off my doorstep.
Why are you doing this? You know? Exactly. You know? But if there was a reference to a Louis C.K. joke where he does that, they're like, when you're sitting there, you're eating your breakfast, and two guys' dicks just come in like that, touching each other in front. It's like, come on, you guys. You're like, shit, I gotta go to work. Now I can't eat my food. Fuck you guys. Fuck you, gay guys. Like, why are you doing this? If it was like that all the time with gays, yeah, sure. Like, that could be irritating, but what the hell people do in their bedroom is so inconsequential, to my existence.
Everybody's into their own thing. Everybody's got their own little kinks, and just have at it. If you the best thing you can ask for in life is to find somebody who has the same little quirks and little kinks and weird shit that you like in the bedroom. Like, if you can find someone that marries up like that, then you've got a happy relationship for life. Because that's all, everybody listening to this, I don't care whether you're the most vanilla person in the world, everybody still has their own little thing that they're like, I just quite like this. And whether they might be too scared to share it with their partner and ask them to do it. But if you can find somebody who indulges in that and enjoys it, and even better if they encourage it then you find the perfect person, because it is such a big part of a relationship to have that healthy sex life.
You know the song Sathian of the album,
yes,
song 3, yeah. So what's being sung there? That is actually a woman singing to Odin that he must return at night under the cover of darkness, because only you and I, Odin, can know our wickedness together. Something like that. That's the sort of loose translation, right? It's all about, I mean, for me, the way I took it, the way I used it in the music, that verse of Havamal is that, you know, with someone that you're really truly together with, only you two share that dark space with each other, your little kinks and wickedness and weird games and like what you're talking about, right? And that was exactly why it inspired me to use that particular verse, because exactly, you wanna meet someone who you can go wild with, right? That who shares your strange tendencies and this, that, and the other, for sure. Because lust and so on.
Because it goes deeper than just the sexual act. It's all about trust and love, and it's all that thing of the ability of being able to share this thing with someone that you're not going to put out into the world for everyone, but you're vulnerable in this moment of sharing. Like, I like this kind of maybe weird thing, and it's almost like a game and a dance in the moment. The first time you tell them, it's like, I like this kind of weird thing. And you're kind of saying it half, but not saying it, just so you can take it back and be like, oh, I'm only joking. I don't really.
Oh yeah, no. Like my friend likes that. He's
yeah. You're like, oh no, not me.
It wasn't about me, like.
But you say it's like it is, and then when you find that person who likes that thing, it's like, fuck, this is insane. This is the best thing ever.
Ah, exactly. And sometimes also like you can open up for different things that you didn't know that you liked as well. When you're trusting the other person enough to say, okay, you like this weird thing. I don't really know where this is going, but tell me about it. And, let me try. I'm open. Like, I'm open to do this weird, wicked thing with you, like.
Absolutely. And like, I'm very lucky to have found somebody that's like that I can explore
that trust,
all these paths with it, and that absolute trust, and it does things can be, we can say anything to each other. It doesn't matter what it is, and I've never really had that in the past. Like it's a new thing of being able to have this absolute where it's like, no matter what, like again, as long as it's legal, no matter what I kind of think is, no matter what I like, I can go to a listener and say, this is what I like. Where are you at with it? Like, do you like it? Do you not? And she's gonna, at the very least,
she also like to be wrapped in bacon, and
But at the very least, she's gonna hear it out, and listen to it, and go. And maybe she's gonna go, that that's a turn off for me. That's not my thing.
Yeah.
But she has the respect to sit there and listen and go, okay, or I'm not, or even like, I'm not sure. Let's try it. Let's have it go and see what happens. Maybe I'm going to like it. Maybe after I'm going to say it's not for me. But it's that very special relationship where you can just go, kind of go wild and just go like, let's just find out.
Dude, that's so important. I mean, I'm lucky enough to have the same situation these days, and it's just a total game changer once you have that. I mean, when I was younger, of course, I was running around and sowing my royal oats or whatever, right? And like as he says in, what is it, Coming to America. But anyways, I had a lot of frivolous sex, and I'm not necessarily regretting it, but I do think I could have done way less of it. I don't think it made me a better lover. I don't think it did at all. No, it made me a better.
It's the experience with one person that makes you better, because it makes you
absolutely like
understand, you listen.
If I'm a good lover, insofar as I am, it's because I'm having a situation with a person where there is that trust. We're listening to each other. Yeah,
and it's also having the respect in the relationship where they can say, maybe I like this. You're doing it this way, but maybe I'd like it this way, and it's tough to hear.
Yes.
It's fucking like all like being completely vulnerable. Like Elisa said to me the other day, like this, but I quite like this, or like this idea, or do it this way. And for there's a moment there where the ego in me is like crushed. The ego in me is crushed, and I'm like,
totally.
I'm like, fuck. I thought I
don't even know how to finger a woman. What the fuck is going on?
But there's that implosion of like ego, and then like you come out the other side of like, that's fucking ridiculous. We're adults and we're having this conversation, and it's all for the better of the experience. It's all for the better of the experience. You have to humble yourself and not think you know everything, and listen to the person, because not everybody's the same as well. What was good with one person might not be good with somebody else.
I had exactly that experience actually not that long ago, where there was something that I thought I had always been doing so great. I'm the best at this.
Yeah.
The way I did it just didn't work with my partner. So told me kindly, you have to do it this way, that way. That's the way I like it.
That's the way I like it.
It was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And
has everyone else been lying to me? And they've just been pretending to like this thing that I thought I was good at doing? Like, fuck.
Exactly. You know? It is tough. It's tough to take. But also, it's like, it doesn't have to be that. It could be that, it was great before, but now this way is better for this person.
Yeah.
But you just have to leave you have to check your ego at the door. And that's
dude. Chuck that
that's
right
how
out.
you're gonna have that's how it's gonna be better.
Absolutely. Actually, like it's I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we talked about before with gayness and so on, because you and I completely agree. Like, we're totally in agreement. Like, we're all on a spectrum in some ways, in shape or form, and and fucking who cares? Like, why do you care like about other people's sexuality and so on? But I do want to say something for people who are very conservative minded, because I think it's extremely important for us who have these very open views and so on to also understand the people who might like things a little bit more traditional.
Mm-hmm.
They might not really want to have this fucking LGBTQ conversation stuffed down their gullet all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's extremely important to remember that, because if we demonize their view because they are more, this is like not a talk we want to have. We don't want to have this in our schools. We don't want to have, like, if we just dismiss them as like misogynistic, cruel.
It doesn't necessarily mean that they're against it just because they don't.
No.
They maybe want to have those conversations in private, because everybody, that's a good point. Everybody is different. And it doesn't mean that it's not, I hate gay people, I hate trans people. It's maybe like, I just prefer to have these conversations at home.
Yeah, or I just don't, or even like if this whole gender debate with like, there are more than two genders. If they don't believe that, if they believe there's man and woman, that's it. They don't believe in more than two genders. You can't force them to believe that, however much you would want to. As long as those conservative-minded people that I'm talking about, are not going out and saying, you can't be this. Yeah. You can't express yourself in this way. I'm worried about where the conversation is going right now, because I think it's going too far in the other direction, and I'm worried that it's actually going to backlash a lot, because at the end of the day, I really like this philosopher called Alexander Bard from Sweden. He's incredibly awesome. He has this idea that there are, in all societies, whether it was the time when we were tribes or whether it's now, there's these certain dynamics that we all follow. And there's certain people that are what he calls shamanoids. So not necessarily a shaman, because that's a designated someone with a very designated role. If you say someone is a shaman, he has a very designated, defined role in a society or in in a tribe and so on. But shamanoids, basically people who are on the fringe of society, who's not following the big pool of society. They're on the fringe. I would actually count myself as one of them as well. Like I'm an artist. I make weird ass music, about sacred sexuality. I've explored my sexuality a lot. I mean, fuck, I was gay in New York for one day when I was younger. Like, tell you that story another time. Actually, no, maybe I should tell you that story.
Gay for the day.
I was gay for the day.
Gay for the day. You told me the story.
Have I told you the story?
I know the story.
Oh, you know the story. Okay, it's a good story. It's a good story. I basically was playing lots of concerts in New York many years back with the indie band, and we met a bunch of gay people, went out with them. I thought they were more fun to hang out with my band, so I just hung out with them. And immediately, I mean, little after the more drinks we got, I started I just got totally gay. I just thought it's gonna be so awesome to be just gay in New York for one day. And I just did, and they thought it was super fun. There was no problem there at all. And I ended up in a bathroom with a lesbian girl and a gay guy, and shit went down. Let's just say
went down.
I can give you sleazy details, but yeah. And of course, it didn't turn me gay. It didn't mean that I thought, oh, now I'm probably not at all. But
it was just an experience.
It was an experience. And I wanted to explore that in that minute. The funny thing was that we ended up at this gay guy's apartment. Was this a part of the story? Maybe it was. Where when I went out into the bathroom with this bi, lesbian, whatever, and this gay guy, when I came back out, my whole band had left. They were just like, fuck this guy. I don't know what trip he's on. So I ended up being sleeping on two chairs in their kitchen and doing the walk of shame.
That was in the story. But it's great. Again,
but the point is to bring it back to Alexander Bard. He talks about that, and it's important for a society to have these shamanoids that are out there, that are pushing the boundaries of what is accepted within society in some ways. And if we all force our society to accept something which is an outlier, that this is now has to be the norm, I think things are going to end up being very chaotic and maybe it's just something that has to happen for a time. That it has to be pushed there because so many people have been oppressed before, and so I think that could totally be. But I would just be careful with how much we demonize people who are of a more conservative mindset.
Yeah, no, I agree. Everyone is entitled to their opinions. Whether you agree with it or not, they're still entitled to have it, and I truly believe that. Okay, let's wrap this up. I'm going to leave it on the. I think sexuality is a full spectrum, like you said earlier. I think that I said to you earlier that I think everybody is bisexual to a degree. Sure. Whether you're the most hardcore, like, fucking hate gay people, whatever. Like, I think everybody on a spectrum is bisexual. Whether there's so many fucking people in the world. I think there's that one person who could just make you just turn your head and go, well, because people are a spectrum. Everybody is a spectrum. And I said to you that you said I had to tell this, so you alluded to it earlier. And I remember I remember watching The Voice when I was maybe the UK Voice, so I will have been like 21. So anybody might remember this. And there was an actor. There's a guy on there who was like Axl Rose, and he was a rock artist. And I don't think he got through the first round. So anybody who watched the first series of The Voice might remember it. And I remember looking at him. Anybody who remembers Axl Rose from his early days in Guns N' Roses, he was just a beautiful man.
He was a good dude. That's man.
Like handsome isn't the word. He was very effeminate. For whatever that matters. And I remember looking at this guy on the Voice, like, why am I attracted to you? And like, I'd never really had that attraction to a man before. But I was like, why have you am I just so attracted to you? And it's such a weird experience. And I was like, what is this? Like, I don't consider myself gay. And clearly I'm not. And I wouldn't necessarily really consider myself bi. But for this one person in this one moment, I was like, I'm really attracted to you. Whatever this aura is, whether it doesn't, I probably didn't really matter whether they were male or female, because they had this aura about them, this confidence, the music, everything in this moment. I was like, I'm very attracted to this, whatever this is. And it probably didn't really matter. But it was the first time I remember being like, especially with a male, like I'm genuinely attracted to this.
Dude, like, I mean, I can't even count the times that I've had that experience of like seeing a man, or like it can be different things. It could be purely aesthetically going like, you're a fucking good looking dude, man. Mm-hmm. You're hot as fuck. You know, that's definitely something. But also I also like with certain friends that I have, I love them so deeply that it's more than just a fun friendship, you know. It's like a deep, deep love that I can understand, even though it doesn't really translate for me into something sexual, because it just isn't there for me. Like I don't get a hard on. I can appreciate beauty, and I can go like, oh dude, I'm really looking at this guy right now. I can do that for sure, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm like, I want this person or I want to be inside him or him inside me or whatever. Just those thoughts don't come up. But like loving another man so deeply that I sometimes would think that, God damn it, if I was gay, like I fuck the shit out of you. It's like, you know, like the holy shit, definitely. Many friends like that. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Let's wrap this up, because we're going to do a short Q&A after this. If you've got a little bit of time. So for anybody listening to this, we do a Q&A after the main show now. It's Patreon exclusive. You can pop your questions over on our Patreon page or in our Discord channel. If you're not in that already, join our Discord channel. There's a section there you can put questions in, or in the live chat. Anybody who's a patron also gets to watch the show live. You can ask questions in real time in the chat. So if you enjoyed any show that I do in future, there's always going to be a bonus one after that is Patreon exclusive, where it's just a Q&A. We're going to get the audience are going to get to ask questions, and we're just going to explore on the episode a little bit further. I'm looking forward to it. So if you can, please go over to Patreon support. I think it's the price of buying me a cup of coffee once a month. And I would very much appreciate it. It helps us keep growing. And to throw it back to earlier with, with Mateus leaving, one of the reasons why I wanted to carry on is because whilst it was in the public eye, me and Mateus, we have a whole team behind. We have Bob that does the booking, we have Rowan that does the editing, we have Matt, the Saxon storyteller, that does all the artwork, we have Alyssa who takes care of the social media now. It's a team of people. So to want to carry that on and keep going forward, and I definitely think we will do. So if you can take a moment to leave us 5-star rating, positive review, we'd appreciate it. Obviously, support us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. It's all just at Nordic Mythology Podcast. Jonas, tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, well, I will keep an eye on on the Nibbala YouTube channel. We're going to be releasing. I think we are releasing the first one in a week or something like that. There's going to be Skin and Aresh, so there's going to be some teasers coming out for that soon. So there's going to be live videos from Midgard's Blood. For those of you who weren't there, those of you who want to revisit it, it's going to be great. It's edited by Sarah, who also edited our music videos. And of course, Shell has been mixing it and doing his shit. And it's mastered by Ivar from Slave. So it's gonna be sounding really, really, really cool. So you can find that if you just go on YouTube and search for Nibbala. That's you find the channel. And then of course Instagram at Nibbala Music. That's where you can find Nibbala, and Facebook as well. But give us a fuck about Facebook.
Hey, join that Facebook group. Our Facebook group's good.
Yeah, your Facebook group is good. Yeah,
come over and join that. But yeah, let's get out of here. Again, this hasn't been the most educational episode, but it's a fun one. I always love this.
I think this was. Who knows? I think people can learn a lot from listening to two, half-wits talk about deep things.
I hope so. Yeah. So again, if you want to hear more, Patreon, there's the Q&A episode, and we're going to be doing that for all the episodes in the future. Yeah. Take care.